Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I have a card to share with you and I'm going to be using the new release stamp set and dies from Paper Sweeties. I made this beautiful card and I did some gold embossing on a blended background. This is the stamp set I'm going to be using. It's called the Hello stamp set and these are the coordinating dies. It's got this beautiful scripted hello with some flowers. And I used the flowers to stamp all over the background, and I took the die cut word hello and layered it onto this scalloped rectangle framed sweet cut die. So there's the rectangle. I cut it out in vellum and I layered the script word in gold foil on top of it. Also added some cupcake sprinkles to the final card, just 3 little sprinkles in different colors. And I'm going to show you how we made this card. The first thing I did was I took a 3 3/4 inch squared panel of Bristol Smooth cardstock and I took 2 different colors of distress inks. One is picked raspberry, the other is spiced marmalade. And what I did is I just randomly did some ink blending all over the panel in these 2 colors. Until I was happy with how they looked, and it truly was random. I did the spice marmalade in some spots, the picked raspberry in others, and then I tried very hard to go back over the panel and blend them in so they looked seamless. And I just sped this up a little so I don't have to bore you with the slow blending. But you can see here basically I just went back and forth between the 2 colors and then kept blending until I was happy with the results. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a lot of gold, use a lot of gold embossing powder on this panel. The trouble with the distress inks is that they stay wet for a long time. So here you can see I'm just drying this panel with my heat gun. And I'm also going to use my anti-static powder tool so that the embossing powder only goes where I want it to go. But as you will notice, even though I'm using the anti-static powder tool and I dried the panel, the embossing powder is still getting to places where I don't want it to be. It's not a huge problem because you can take a paintbrush and just brush off the extra powder that you don't want. So the next step is to take the 2 stamps that I want to stamp all over the background. That's the flower stamp and the small leaf that comes with the set. And I'm going to take my Versamark ink pad. And for those of you that don't know, the Versamark ink pad is just a sticky ink that allows the embossing powder to stick to it until you can heat it up and melt it with your heat gun. So I have the 2 stamps, and I'm going to start with the flower stamp. And just like when I did the ink blending and I kind of did a random pattern, I'm going to do the same thing with this flower stamp. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to stamp it randomly all over the background. And in some spots you'll see I am going to stamp off of the panel, and I always like to do that when I'm stamping because it gives kind of a random organic look to your project. It doesn't look so planned out basically. So you can see that some of these flowers are going to hang off the panel and some of the flowers are going to go right on the panel. So here you can see I'm actually going to stamp 3 before I put any embossing powder on, because I will be able to see those flowers when I sprinkle the embossing powder on. Sometimes if I get crazy and stamp more than that at one time, it's kind of hard to see where the embossing ink is. So I'm going to start with 3 flowers. I'm going to sprinkle my gold embossing powder on those 3 areas that I stamped, and then I'm going to flick it off, and you'll see right now when I turn it back over that even though I'm flicking it, there's still some stray embossing powder. And like I said, that's with the anti-static tool and the heat gun. But again, there's my paintbrush and I am able to just get rid of that stray embossing powder. It's not a terrible thing if some of the stray embossing powder stays on the panel because it actually looks very nice when there is gold flecks on the background. But if you want that clean look, then like I said, it's really easy to just take your paintbrush and go in and brush off. And if you make a mistake and brush off something you don't want, then all you need to do is sprinkle some gold embossing powder back over it again. So now you can see I'm going to bring in my heat gun, and I'm going to heat up the embossing powder until it melts. And I just love this part. This is great. You can just see the effect right on camera, right as it happens. It's quick. As it melts, it becomes very, very shiny. So you just want to hold the heat gun there long enough until it changes color. And that's it. It's just beautiful the way you can really see the shine on the camera. So then I'm going to go back in again, and I'm going to stamp some more flowers, again pretty randomly over the panel. And like I said, some of them are going to be off the panel, but I'm going to speed this part up just so you don't get bored, because it's the same process over and over again. Stamp it, put some embossing powder on it, brush it off with the brush, and then get that embossing powder back into the little bottle. I'm just going to heat those flowers up. And then when I'm happy with the flowers, I'm going to go in with the small leaf stamp. That's what you see me doing now. I'm going to stamp a few leaves, sprinkle some embossing powder over it. Basically, same exact steps that I did before. I'm going to heat them up, stamp a few more leaves, and as you can see, it just starts to have that random look on the panel. It really looks beautiful the way the leaves are attached to the flowers. And once again, I'm just going to heat them up. You can see that change. And when I'm done with all that, I'm just going to clean up this area. I'm probably going to have gold embossing powder all over my desk for quite a while, and on my face and in my hair. This is one of those projects that when the family gets home at the end of the day, they ask why there's gold glitter all over my face. So now I'm just going to clean these two stamps off. I've got my stamp chamois, which is nice. The Versamark is very sticky, so sometimes it takes a little extra muscle to get the ink off of the stamps. And then I'm going to dry them with a microfiber towel. I used to make the mistake of using a terry cloth towel, and I had fibers all over my stamps. So now I'm ready to put the card together. I have this gold foil panel that measures 4 inches by 4 inches, and I'm going to glue it to the card base. Make sure that the card is right side up, because I have been known to glue things down upside down before. So I'm just going to give a generous amount of glue to the back of the gold foil. It is a very heavy cardstock, so you do want to use enough glue so that it stays in place. And the nice thing about the Tombow glue is that you do have a little bit of time to wiggle it around to make sure it's centered. And then the panel that I did the ink blending and the embossing measures 3 3/4 by 3 3/4, and again I'm going to go ahead and glue that down to the foil. And again, you want to use enough glue that it really holds in place, because sometimes that foil is kind of a slick surface and it's hard to glue stuff down to. But once I get it centered and moved around where I want it to, I'm just going to lay an acrylic block on top of it so that it can dry while I'm working on the Hello die cut. So that's what I'm doing there. I'm just pushing it into place and getting it all sealed. I'm going to grab my acrylic block. I'm going to lay it on top and set it aside. Now the Hello, the Scripty Hello die, that is the die cut that comes with the Hello stamp set. It's called the Sweet Cut Hello dies, I think. Sorry. And what I also cut that out of the gold foil cardstock, just like the panel on the card. And I'm going to take a very small glue gun so that I can put some glue over the back of the Hello. It's easier when you have a very small glue applicator to get into those little pieces on the word. And there I'm just cleaning off the word. There's some stray pieces of paper from when I did the die cutting. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some glue all over the back of that word. And again, I'm going to speed this up a little because it takes quite a while to get all that glue in place. And I'm going to use my tweezers to help me center it on the rectangle die cut, the vellum. And then once again, I'm going to put some glue down on the back of the word hello, and I'm going to make sure I'm just putting it down on the word, because a lot of times glue shows through vellum and it really doesn't look great. So I'm going to lay the scalloped portion, the scalloped frame down so that I can lay the rectangle inside of it. And the scallop portion will be held down by the glue that I used on the beginning of the H and the end of the O. So that way I don't have to put any glue down right under the rectangle itself. And again, I'm just going to use my block. I'm going to add a little bit of glue under that H and a little bit of glue I added before under the O. And as soon as this is dry, then I can work on my sequins. There's a lot of really pretty sequins in the Paper Sweetie shop. These in particular are called cupcake sprinkles, and there's a whole rainbow of colors in this pack. And I just picked out 2 pink sequins and 1 orange to kind of match the background of the card. I'm just going to place them where I want. Usually I get very carried away with the amount of sequins I use on a card, but I was pretty good on this card. I only picked out 3 sequins, 2 pink and 1 orange to match the background, and I think they look really good on the card. It didn't really need any extra sparkle and shine. There's plenty of gold embossing powder and some gold foil, and you can see all the beautiful shine on this card. The camera picks it up nicely. The only difference is on the original card I used that black bow. That's some licorice seam binding from the Paper Sweetie shop, but unfortunately I did run out of it, so I was not able to finish this card off with it. But I love the way the black makes the bright colors really pop on the card. So that is my card for today. Again, the stamp set and dies are called the Hello stamp set with the matching dies. They're called Sweet Cut dies in the Paper Sweetie shop. They've got the flowers and the leaves and the pretty scripty hello. The stamp set also has that pretty scripty hello and a stamp with a lot of other sentiments to go along with it. It will be available in the shop for purchase very soon. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you liked the card, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.